We live, brother. We live. All right, man. So once again, welcome to the You Good podcast with Rob, where we talk about mental health. Today we have a special guest, none other than my friend, Mr. Damian Jones. Mr. Jones, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
I can't complain, man. You know, my team just got a win, so I'm rocking my Niners gear. So I'm feeling real good right now.
Yeah, I'm happy for y'all, man. Not them choking Cowboys off, man. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. I had to call my man Jimmy G and give him some words of encouragement. He came through for me. Yeah. So how you doing, man? How's everybody doing? How's the family? Everybody's good?
Yeah, everything's good, man. We just trying to deal with COVID and this different world that we live in. But other than that, everything is good. How's your family?
Everybody's good, man. Healthy, happy, safe. You know, that's all we can ask for right now, man. That's all we can ask for.
No doubt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So for my listeners who obviously do not know who you are, please give me a little introduction. Give me your name we already said, but you can let me your name, what you actually do, and how many years of service that you've been in, and what your qualifications actually are.
All right. So again, my name is Damian Jones. Currently, I'm a licensed graduate professional counselor. I do individual, family, and couples therapy. Aside from that, I'm a therapeutic crisis intervention trainer, and I work with kids as a behavior specialist at the Villa Maria School. I've been doing this for about 20 plus years, different school systems, different residential systems. But my ultimate goal is to open a private practice. Honestly, I would love to have other Black males involved, different specialties, but there's not a lot of us out there. So I would love to have us united, providing services to our communities.
For sure. That's a definite needed service, man. So I commend you on that. I commend you on what you're doing, bro. Definitely. And me and you have had several conversations prior to this. So, we always talk about things that we're trying to put in place in order to help provide services for our community, especially in that mental health space. So definitely commend you on that.
Much appreciated.
Oh yeah, without a question. So as you mentioned, you do therapy, couples therapy and individual therapy as well, correct?
Yes.
So in that, who do you find is in the most need as far as those in that realm, as far as therapy is concerned? First, couples wise, and then individual wise.
Well, I think just based off the current state of the world, everyone needs therapy in some aspect. Individually, a lot of single people, age ranging from as young as 10 on up, and for a variety of reasons. A lot of them are dealing with life transitions, previous trauma, anxiety, depression, it's a long list of issues. But the thing is, they're making the right choice and seeking help, because a lot of these things you can't deal with alone. So I encourage all individuals, to get out here, talk to someone. And, I go by the mantra of one of my old professors, start of grad school. He told me that healthy people talk to people. He said, if your body's not feeling well, you go to a doctor. If you're having problems with your teeth, you go to a dentist. So if you're having issues with your mind, your mental health, you see a therapist. So I tell people that all the time. And, it's real. The hard part with that is, our people, we were raised to keep your business in the family. Don't tell outsiders your business. So I think, Black people in general have taken that to heart and are sometimes reluctant to get the help that they need. So, I'm here to help break down that barrier, that stereotype that we don't do therapy, because I'm a Black man. I've had a therapist. I am a therapist, and I encourage people to seek therapy for whatever they're dealing with in life.
Man, that is key, man. That is key. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast, man, to get that word out that it is important. As you mentioned, if you're sick, you go to a doctor. If your tooth hurt, you go to a dentist. If you have some mental concerns, you need to go to a therapist. Thank you, man. That is some word. That's words of wisdom right there, man. And people need to hear that. People definitely need to hear that. So I mean, I hope once people get this and listen to this interview that they put that portion on repeat, because that is important. That is super important, man. Like you said, in our community, we are taught to keep our issues and our concerns in-house. And a lot of times that causes our house to have dysfunction. And a lot of us come from dysfunctional homes, man, unfortunately. And that's why, though, because our families did not get out and get to the process of speaking out their problems to someone else, to they just internalize everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Internalizing everything. A lot of times when those explosions or those times of anger or frustration happen, they happen towards the ones that we love. And it might not necessarily be, those people might not necessarily be who we're angry at or who that person is angry at. So they have that displaced anger. So I'm angry about something that happened outside, or I'm angry about something that's going on in my own personal mind or at work or whatever it happens to be. But because you are, my family member, or I see you on a daily basis, now anything that you say or do is going to be a trigger for me. And now,
Right.
That displaced anger is going to have me to react to what my other situation really has me angry about.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So as you are, I definitely mentioned that. So originally, let me ask you, where are you from originally? Born and raised?
From Baltimore, Maryland, East Baltimore to be exact, from Milton Avenue to Federal Street. I mean, a lot of people would consider that the hood,
Okay.
but luckily for me, at an early age, my father was in the military, so we got to see different parts of the country, different parts of the world while
Okay.
I was young.
Okay.
So it kind of instilled, that in me. Like, I knew that it was more than just my block or my neighborhood. So it made me want to, further explore what was out there. So, I'm thankful for him for that, for really, giving us an opportunity to see more at an early age.
Okay.
Because so many people, that grew up on our block never made it off our block. So fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm from a small town in New Jersey, and it ends up being the same thing. A lot of people have that small town mentality, and they don't want to leave, or they're scared. A lot of people just have fear of leaving. You know what I mean? A lot of people
Right.
just have fear of the unknown. So,
Right.
I mean, I've been in Baltimore 20 years, and I'm sure people from the west side of Baltimore have never traveled east, and there's people from the east side of Baltimore who have never
Right.
traveled west. And that's just
Right.
within the confines of just Baltimore City itself. Let alone if you go to Baltimore County or PG County or, to another state, people are just like, no, that's
Right.
too much out my comfort zone. So, yeah. Yeah. So, what made you want to be in this career field?
Well, in all actuality, my original plan was to be a doctor. I wanted to be a cardiac surgeon, but as life had it, I had children prior to being able to go to medical school. So I took my degree and I found a job working with my first job. I worked at the Arc of Baltimore, and it was nothing major. I was just transporting people from their homes to their day programs, and sometimes I would sit in their day programs and just see what exactly it was that they did. And that just led to me going to different agencies. Then I started working with kids and ended up in schools. I taught for a few years, and I didn't really like the teaching aspect of it, but I had a way of dealing with kids with behavioral problems. So that's what I did. I became behavior specialist, been a dean in different schools, just different positions that revolved around behavioral aspects of the kids in the schools.
Okay.
And as I was doing that, I was incorporating a lot of therapeutic approaches to things and, just doing what I naturally would do. So then it kind of clicked like, I'm doing what a therapist would do. I should be a therapist. So, I went back to school, got my graduate degree. Then I did a post-grad cert in marriage and family therapy. It's led me to get my license, and here I am. I mean, it's definitely rewarding when you're able to help someone overcome something they may have been dealing with for a very long time, or even a short amount of time, but just helping them get over that hump is rewarding to me. And I think that's what drives me to do the work that I do.
Sure. And once again, I commend you on that, because not a lot of us see that. I'm starting to see, more, especially with COVID and everything happening. I'm seeing more of us. And when I say us, I'm talking about Black men in particular, kind of dwelling into this realm, or even just speaking out our feelings in reference to mental health. So I'm starting to see it more, even celebrities, things of that nature. So I think that there's COVID, unfortunately, did a lot as far as taking people from us, but I think it did a lot too for people understanding that there needed to be some type of healing process, and especially in our community, because for so long we continue to just sweep things under the rug and sweep things under the rug and sweep things under the rug. And I think when the world came to a pause, it made people think and feel like, okay, well, we need to go into another direction, because this has been happening for so long in our community. It's not exactly benefiting us in any way for us to just keep thinking that we're hiding stuff, but you're not hiding stuff, because eventually that rug is going to have just so much dirt underneath it that it's just going to start spilling out the sides and everything. So,
Right.
definitely, as I mentioned, I commend you on doing that, because it's super important, man. It's super important, the work that you do. So, has COVID-19, kind of piggybacking on what I asked, has COVID-19 had a major effect on people's mental health in your aspect, or
Yeah,
in what you think?
I definitely would say yes. The thing with COVID that it made people really realize that they didn't know themselves. They didn't know the people that they shared space with at home. When people were forced to be in the house with their significant others, with their family members, you start seeing different sides of these people, because generally you're at work or you're in school or whatever the case may be. So you don't really deal with these people that much throughout the course of the day. When everything shut down, it became a problem. So then it was, well, damn, I don't know what to do. I'm sitting here dealing with this one or that one. So different issues just were brought to the surface, and now people are forced to deal with these issues. So, I mean, it was good and bad. It caused a lot of internal family issues, but it also forced people to get the help that they needed.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And I touched on that in one of the episodes in the podcast about how COVID-19, unfortunately led to some other issues and concerns in people's families that, and in the realm that we work with kids, and, unfortunately it led to some kids being taken out of the home, and some people, filing some reports about things that were happening in the home. So it wasn't necessarily, not just COVID-19, but the effects of COVID-19 had a major effect just on people in the community, especially, definitely.
Right.
So as a mental health practitioner, what are two things that you could recommend for people who are struggling with mental health right now?
Well, first seek help. Take that necessary first step. Find a therapist, that you're comfortable with. And the second thing is, once you find a therapist, stick with it. It's not something that's gonna be resolved overnight. You're not gonna go to one therapy session and, oh, I'm good now. You
Right,
might feel better about yourself, but it's a process.
right.
And you have to trust the process in order to get the outcomes that you want. So find a therapist and stick with it. That's the best advice that I could give anyone listening to this podcast, or anyone just, in passing.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna kind of go back to something that we mentioned kind of earlier in the interview, about just our community. So in our community, why do you feel like mental health is frowned upon?
I think it goes back to what we've been taught from an early age, to keep family business in the family, and is it's unfortunate that we've been taught that way, but really, if you look at all ethnicities or different cultures, everyone has certain things pertaining to therapy, certain hangups. Our community is kind of frowned upon. Asians is like if an Asian person gets therapy, the older people look at them like they're disrespecting the family. They look at them as weak people, things of that nature. It's just a lot of different issues with different cultures, pertaining to therapy. But I think in recent times with different athletes coming out, celebrities coming out stating that they have mental health issues, is giving people a different view. It's like, oh, okay, this person's in the spotlight and they can admit to this. I'm a regular person, I should be able to admit to it too. So it's kind of like it's it helped, you know, people come to grips with the fact that they do have issues and they do need help. So I'm kind of grateful that some of these athletes have spoken up, some of these entertainers have spoken up, and it's crazy because we as Black people, we're quick to say, oh, that person needs help. We need help. You need help too. So get it.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. You for sure right about that, bro. We quick to point the finger, or that old adage we always say, you point one finger at somebody, but there's three more pointing back at you.
Pointing
So
back at you, right? Yeah.
yeah, for sure, man. We definitely quick to be like, oh yeah, so and so needs such and such, and kind of put ourselves in another realm, but we need just as much help as the next person. So definitely. Yeah. So being and I kind of this is kind of twist on another question that I already asked, but being in the mental health field, what do you feel that people struggle with the most? Like, what's the being a therapist? What do you come across the most as far as what people are struggling with?
Well, a lot of people struggle with anxiety and depression. And, that's just general life stuff, like things aren't going your way, you're depressed, or things aren't going your way, you're anxious. You have these bad feelings like things aren't going to go your way. And I don't think, I mean, it's natural, but you can't let it consume you. So, again, it's one of those things that you can't handle it on your own. You need to get help.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, all right. And ultimately, do you feel as a community we can do better at dealing with our own mental health?
Yes, I do. And I think currently that's happening. I think that our community, we're seeing more Black therapists, more people that look like us that we can relate to, or we feel like we can relate to. So we're willing to take a chance on, okay, I'll try this out. And I think once people take that step and give it a try, they'll see that it's not what they thought. It's much more beneficial than they may have ever imagined.
Definitely. All right, definitely. And then the last thing, this is kind of particularly pertaining to our community. Um, do you feel like has a hood, like just being from the hood around the way or whatever, has that mentality been a detriment to our community?
Um, Detriment to our community pertaining to mental health or just in general?
Um, yeah, let's speak on both of them.
See, in general, I don't think a hood mentality has been detrimental to our community because in the hood, we're natural born hustlers.
Definitely.
And we flipped that from the illegal standpoint to a legal standpoint, and it's benefited us tremendously. It's allowed us to open businesses and remain successful and kind of step up our social classes.
Right.
Now, as far as pertaining to mental health, I think it does hurt our community because again, we go back to, I don't know him. I'm not speaking I'm not speaking on any of my problems, or what can that person do to help me? You know what I'm saying? So just being guarded, I think, like, again, fear the unknown, if we're not familiar with certain things in the hood, we're not dealing with it.
Right.
So, it's like you're kind of guarded because of the fact that this is something new or something that you're unfamiliar with. And, all things unfamiliar aren't bad.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. You definitely right. I asked that, and it's kind of a loaded question, but I asked that just to kind of give perspective, just of people's thought process. So that's kind of why I asked that question. And I know, some people will kind of look at the question, but the answers that you gave make an abundance of sense. So, that kind of gives foresight to the reason behind that question that I asked, because I think it's just important. Like I said, we talking about our community. So, I think that what happens is I think that so much time we've spent in our space that so much stuff was off, was a topic that we wouldn't talk about, or so much stuff was off the books or off. You can't, we can't talk about that stuff. So, when I want to bring up some subjects and things of that nature, I want to make sure that we're not specifically talking about our community, because a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of cultures and communities struggle. But
Right.
in this particular podcast, I want to touch base with a community that I feel like has been underserved, which is definitely the African American community, the Hispanic community, people that are just underserved. So, I want to make sure that we reach out to those particular individuals and let them know, like, there is help, and there are people that definitely care. So they're not alone. Because a lot of times, when you're in those particular arenas or in that situation, a lot of people feel alone. A lot of people feel trapped. A lot of people feel like there is no way out. And
Right.
we've seen what happens when people end up with those type of thought processes, and the risks and the actions that they're willing to take in order to get out of those circumstances. Many of I'm sure you can tell a million stories just like I can. Many of our friends have kind of put themselves in those predicaments, or felt like they were in those predicaments, and were willing to do any and everything to get themselves out. And sometimes
Right.
it may have cost them their life in one way or another, whether it been behind bars or unfortunately in a graveyard. But because they were unwilling to hash out their issues or hash out their problems by speaking with someone, they chose another route. Unfortunately, that led to an unfortunate outcome that may have been able to be changed if they were just willing to speak to someone in reference to how they were feeling and the things that they were going through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's key, having all these bottled up feelings inside and you don't feel like you have an outlet or there's no end in sight, you're gonna do something irrational. And by all means, we're trying to avoid that, trying to help people figure out ways to cope and deal with whatever issues may arise. And oftentimes you need help in doing that. So, it's like you have to train yourself to do certain things. It's no different than going to school, learning a skill. You need help to perfect it, to master it. So it's the same thing with mental health. You need help in mastering how to cope with anxiety, how to keep your depression at bay. And the way you do that is by talking to a trained professional. They give you strategies, they work with you and see what works, and you build off of that.
Sure, sure. All right, man. Are there any, first of all, I want to tell you, thank you, bro, for this interview. I've been kind of waiting for this, and we've been touching base and talking about it. So the fact that we were actually able to sit down and do it, man, I greatly appreciate it. It's definitely something that my listeners had asked me about. So, I'm glad that we're able to get down. I'm sure this won't be the last. I feel like it's great to hear from a good brother, and I think it's important. So, you'll definitely be one of my guests on a consistent basis, because you have, a lot of knowledge in reference to what we're speaking about in reference to mental health. And I think a lot of people could use the information that you have for their benefit. Is there any last words that you'd like to add before we part ways? And I tell you thank you and good night for the evening.
Only thing I want to say is this: I want to reinforce what I said earlier, and that's that healthy people talk to people. So if you need help, please seek it.
All right. Spoken like a true professional, as they say. Once again, brother, I greatly appreciate it. Now, for those who definitely want, is there a way for people to get in contact with you? I will definitely plug it, put the information on the link and everything when I put this up on YouTube and on Instagram. But is there a way for people to get in contact with you? Let them know your information.
I could send you all my information because I don't have it just right up. I mean, I'll email it to you and then you can post it.
Sure.
It'll be the easiest way to do it.
All right, definitely, because I'm sure after seeing this, there's going to be some people that definitely want to get in contact with you. Definitely.
By all means, tell them. If I can't help them directly, I can refer them to someone that can.
Right. Cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here you go. This is Mr. Damian Jones, a therapist, a friend of mine, a confidant, somebody I definitely have bounced an abundance of information off of. A good person that's been in my life, a mentor that I didn't even know I needed. So I appreciate that, brother, because you have helped me out tremendously with a couple of things that I didn't even know I was in need of. So thank you for that. It's great to have good people in the corner, because like I said, we kind of just met on the humble, and then ended up developing a relationship, and I'm grateful for it. So I always tell you that, and always want to make sure that you know that, because I have a great appreciation for good people in my life, and you definitely have become one of those people.
I appreciate that. The feeling is mutual.
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned, once again, Damian Jones, therapist, counselor, and somebody that I will get information for, and somebody that my listeners, that y'all please reach out to this man. And like he said, if he is not the person that will be able to assist you with some of your concerns, mental health wise, he will be able to point you in the right direction. I want to thank you, sir, for your time. Be safe on your ride home, because it is snowing and crazy outside, the weather. Hope your family stays safe with all this COVID-19 stuff, and I will be speaking to you within the next couple of days there, sir.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me, and appreciate that, man. Just get in touch with me, and we'll continue to build.
For sure, definitely. Once again, Damian Jones on the You Good podcast. I am signing out. God bless. Good night, brother, and be safe getting home, man.
All right. Good night.